Hello and welcome to the Gallant Goblin in Space! I'm Grady, and today we are looking at the first of the Icons of the Realms Spelljammer Ship Scale Mini Box Sets of pre-painted minis from WizKids, and special thanks to WizKids for sending these to us to review. Now, as you can see from the back of the box, these ship scale minis are sized to have 1 inch equaling 50 feet instead of 5 feet like your regular minis, so everything is 10 times smaller. I have thoughts about these ship scale minis, though I suppose it's less about the minis than the Spelljammer rulebook for 5e. I'll save those for the end of the video so you can take a look at the minis first. But before we dive in, check out the Fablemaker's animated tarot deck from our friends at Hit Point Press. Each card has gorgeous custom art with 8 frames of animation, and the set comes with a tarot guidebook to enhance your games. It teaches you all about using tarot in your everyday life, as well as how to inspire your RPG creativity, from creating NPC backstories on the fly to enhancing your PC's motivations and history, and more. Order the guidebook, deck, or both in a discounted box set today. Shape your story at animatedtarot.com. These minis are not numbered on their bases, instead having the notice that they are ship scale 1:600 ratio under their names in case, I don't know, you get confused and think you bought the Mimic box set instead. Our first mini is the classic Space Galleon, also usable on water as a seafaring galleon, and I don't just mean reusing the mini. Literally, in the game, they can land on water and start sailing around masquerading as a normal vessel, so the world they're visiting doesn't realize they've been invaded by aliens. It's almost like you have a TARDIS. It's a very common vessel that you'll see throughout Wildspace. The Space Galleon has a flying speed of 35 feet, a crew capacity of 20, and costs 30,000 gold pieces. Next is the Bombard, which belongs to the space hippos known as the GIF, or GIF these days if you're feeling spicy. Thank you, 5th edition, for expanding on the lore in such a meaningful way. Note the giant cannon at the front of the ship. It can blow things up because these hippos are hungry for war. The cannon has a significantly longer range than the ballistae and mangonels typically found aboard spelljamming ships, and also does more damage. The Bombard can also sail on water and has a flying speed of 35 feet, crew of 12, and costs 50,000 gold pieces inclusive of the cannon. Rounding out our big ships is my personal favorite, the Squid Ship. Sadly, it just looks like a squid and is not a real squid, though it can also sail on water, so you can pretend to be a surfacing giant squid, I guess. The tentacles account for almost half the ship's length and are actually on the front of the ship, not the back, serving as a reinforced bow for ramming. This ship is apparently commonly used for patrols, which doesn't make a lot of sense since its speed of 30 feet is slower than a lot of the common ships that, I don't know, you'd think a patrol should be able to keep up with or chase down. Squid ships have a crew of 13 and cost 25,000 gold pieces. Next we have the Shrike Ship, which is smaller and more maneuverable than the ships we've seen so far. It has legs which enable it to land on the ground, but is not stable enough to really sail on water. It can float for a bit, but sinks in rough waters. With a speed of 70 feet and a small crew requirement of only 11, it's popular with merchants and pirates, and it can hold 3 ballistae for defensive or offensive purposes. The Shrike Ship costs 20,000 gold pieces. And rounding out our set is an ancient gold dragon. This is probably the cheapest you'll get one, but lest you be too sad about it being teeny tiny, it's arguably the right size for a young dragon with a correct large size base to boot. Metallic dragons are going to be some of the friendlier creatures you can encounter while sailing the Astral Sea. As you'll discover in the upcoming box sets, there are a lot of other things that fly around and are more likely to see your vessel as a to-go bag, delivering a nice tasty meal inside. The crew, you're the food. Lest you need a reminder, ancient gold dragons have a CR of 24, and if you do have the full-size one, you can bring it out for the actual encounter. Overall, this is a good collection of core ships and potential allies for Spelljammer, so definitely a good introductory set as the Welcome to Wildspace name implies. The paint jobs are solid but nothing to write home about, favoring large swaths of the same color with minimal detailing. That said, the transparent wings of the Shrike Ship and the metallic sheen of the Bombard cannon stand out to me, and I appreciate that the paint jobs are pretty clean. Now with that said, we have some problems, y'all. These minis are a solution in search of a problem, and the problem, so to speak, is, yes, you guessed it, Wizards of the Coast. There is almost no functional use for ship scale minis for 5th edition Spelljammer as written in the published source books. The reason is twofold. First, there are almost no ship combat rules. What rules exist rely on pre-existing siege weapon stat blocks like the ballista and the mangonel, and the book encourages you to fall back on character abilities and weapons. Ramming is really the only combat ability unique to ships. From a design standpoint, that makes a certain amount of sense. One criticism of ship-to-ship combat rules in Starfinder, for example, was how they didn't always synergize well with character build choices. They've largely fixed that in subsequent releases with an expansion of ship crew roles, but the main criticism of the Starfinder ship combat rules was that they were just too much. It was an almost entirely different battle system that folks had to learn, and it tended to get bogged down. So I can see how Wizards looked at the option of designing a whole new system and opted against it in favor of the ease of play that defines 5e. So with the rules as written for Spelljammer though, the positioning of ships on a broader scale makes very little difference. Second, all the distance rules in Spelljammer assume the standard 1 inch equals 5 feet scaling. The WizKids ship scale transforms 1 inch grids to represent 50 feet, but that makes little sense because few distances in the Spelljammer book are in increments of 50 feet. Look at the ship speeds for the vessels we got in this box. 30 feet, 35 feet, and 70 feet. The range of a ballista is 120 for 80 feet. The range of a mangonel is 200, 800 feet, which is divisible by 50, but it has a limitation that it can't hit things within 60 feet, which is not divisible by 50. Creatures that fall off a ship drift away from it at a rate of 10 feet per minute. Air envelopes extend out from a ship at the same distance as the length of the keel of a ship, which is 130 feet for a Galleon, 140 feet for a Bombard, 250 for a Squid Ship, and 100 for a Shrike Ship. Finally, the crew of one ship can board another ship if the ships are within 5 feet of each other. And the book talks about maneuvers where you can use a single round to move your ship up close, have your characters board the enemy ship with a readied action, and then move your ship away again so the enemy can't board your ship in return. You can't really represent any of that at the 50-foot scale. Also, let's look at the base sizes for the ship scale minis. They don't matter, which is fine. Size doesn't affect any of the combat rules in the book, but you could imagine a world where a bit better written rule set for Spelljammer would let them matter. Instead, WizKids made the correct decision in varying the size of the bases to prevent the minis from tipping over. The minis themselves are indeed accurate to the sizes in the books, so the Space Galleon has a large base representing 100 feet, but the mini's keel extends past the base to the 130 feet as written, and its width is narrower than 1 inch, matching the 30 feet written in the Spelljammer book. The Squid Ship, being significantly longer, gets a huge base, while the Shrike Ship gets a medium base. It would have been cool though if the bases represented, for example, the size of the mini's air envelope or gravity effect, as those are things the DM needs to track, but that would require a completely different scale than what is being done here. These are also awkward fits for uses with other game systems. Starfinder, for example, uses a hex grid instead of a square grid, and all the ships are standardized to take up 1 hex. Other games like X-Wing Miniatures have different base scaling and use square bases. That doesn't make these minis useless, though. There are a lot of third-party combat rules out there that would probably allow you to take better advantage of these minis. We're actually working on a rule set ourselves, so keep an eye out for that announcement early next year. But personally, I would just print out the gridded ship battle maps, which are 5-foot scale, provided by Wizards of the Coast for each ship to use when battling on board the ships, and then use either Theater of the Mind or have 1 inch represent roughly 20 feet when doing ship-to-ship combat, and round up or down any numbers that don't fit. And then switch to 1 inch equals 5 feet once the ships are within about 180 feet of each other, because that would require about a 3-foot or 36-inch grid, which is a pretty common size that you can get for just your gridded battle maps. But yeah, these are nice minis, and if you're excited about their possibilities at your table, these box sets are perfect for you to bring your vision to life. That just, unfortunately, is not going to be a vision that is fully realized by the D&D source books, which is fine, but that's just something to be aware of if you're casually looking at these minis and haven't given Spelljammer a try yet. I would definitely recommend running the free Spelljammer Academy adventure on D&D Beyond first. We'll have a link to that in the video description below. The second of the 4 adventures in that series, called Trial by Fire, features ship-to-ship combat and would be a way to gauge how useful you think these minis would be for you before you pick them up. Give it a try and decide for yourself. And we haven't played all the space-based TTRPGs out there, so if you know of other games that could utilize these minis, let us know in the comments section down below. Plus, since so many of these are regular seafaring vessels, you could use them to some effect in like your Ghosts of Saltmarsh type campaigns as well. There are 5 more box sets of ship scale minis, and we're going to have coverage of all of them, so be sure to hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already, and the bell icon to be notified as soon as the videos come out. We've got more ships, more dragons, and more monsters coming, plus everyone's favorite type of mini, rocks. Yes, there are asteroid minis. Thank you for watching today. If this video was helpful to you, hit that thumbs up button so YouTube's algorithm shares it to more people. And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Hit Point Press's Fablemaker's animated tarot cards and guidebook at animatedtarot.com. You can also join our Discord using the link in the video description, as well as find us on Facebook and Instagram. I hope you're having a wonderful winter holiday season. Stay safe, have fun, love each other, and we'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.